Hey guys, what's up? New School Cool here. Gonna be doing a fan theory today about the announcement that Matt Smith and David Tennant may be coming back to do a 6 episode run, up to a 6 episode run, in the new Doctor Who series with Peter Capaldi. I almost said David Capaldi, that would have been a mistake. Anyway, joining us today are a very disapproving looking Matt Smith on my left and a very quizzically looking David Tennant on my right. Well, I guess it's flip-flop, so the other way around. Whatever. Either way, the point is, we're here to discuss the recent news. So, as we both know, all me and one other person who watches these videos, as we know, David Tennant and Matt Smith have been in conversation to do another run on Doctor Who, which I think would just be completely fantastic. I love the two of them as doctors. Not a huge fan of Capaldi, so anything to have these doctors back would be great. Now, if they could throw on Eccleston, I'd be happy, but nobody likes me, so my opinion doesn't count. But, so I had a few thoughts on how this is going to work out in the actual show, how they can make this work, and what time period I think they're going to be in. So first and foremost, I would like to thank disappointed Matt Smith, Matt Smith, and slightly confused and upset David Tennant for being here today, as well as the TARDIS in the background. This is going to be my first episode of any fan theories of any kind, and so I decided to choose my favorite series, and I was up all night. I guess not up, I was asleep, dreaming about all these things after I heard the news. So, I decided I had to wake up, make a video. Here we go. So, my thoughts. With the Doctor's reincarnation as Capaldi, one of the first things that he said is that he recognizes the face. He's seen this face before, and as we start to realize, the Doctor in his later reincarnations is becoming people that he's seen in his previous travels. There's some element of nostalgia for the Doctor and his reincarnations, and we can see Capaldi in the episode in Pompeii, and we can see him in Torchwood as well. So, who's a direct descendant of that guy from Pompeii? So, there's definitely a connection between him and the Doctor. Now, the question becomes, what then is the connection between Matt Smith and David Tennant? Because the only logical solution, unless of course you bring them back as doctors, which they've already done, so I can't imagine that they would, is that they're going to explore more about the Doctor's past, this nostalgia, and why he's coming up with these reincarnations, specifically these faces, these styles, these little different nuances to the character and what prompts them. So we have Matt Smith. What is the obsession with the fez? Why the bow tie instead of the regular tie? And obviously we have David Tennant and the hair, the suit, and of course the Converses. So the Doctor's always had a suit and something like that. But the unique characteristics of each Doctor, I think in this instance, were the bow tie, the fez, and then the Converses. So one thing that I think obviously what they'll do is try and explore, and over a 6-episode arc, that's a fairly substantial chunk. If they end up doing 6 episodes, Tennant said that was probably a little bit much, but if they do it, the logical arc that I could see is that they're tying in how these two characters met the Doctor and why the Doctor chose them as his faces, and his appearances, and why we're going with that. So with that in mind, I was trying to think, what's the perfect setting for this? Where's an area where these two could realistically be, a time period that they could realistically be, and encounter the Doctor and something substantial in the Doctor's life? And for me, in all of my thoughts and all of my different theories and all the different conversations I've had about it, the recurring time period that keeps popping up is World War II. Now, the reason I mention this is because we have I remember clearly the episode where you run into Winston Churchill when you have the Daleks invading during World War II, and Churchill sees the Doctor but doesn't recognize him immediately, so he has seen other iterations of the Doctor. So the Doctor has clearly been drawn to World War II many a time, and so I think where it would make most sense is if you've got some big arc. I'm not sure whether it's a new alien attack, maybe bringing back something crazy like the Jethun, or maybe, and you could always do Daleks, but I feel like it's already been done. You could do the Cybermen, The silence would be interesting. I don't know how they would work that back in, but those are some just like general ideas, some like different groups and things like that. But I think in that time period, it seems to be where the writers are drawn to. You've got a great actor for Churchill already. I love that actor. I've seen him in a few other things. Doc Martin, he's in that. If you haven't seen that, really funny guy. But I think it would be great to have the two of them interacted there. The Doctor's drawn there constantly, and so I think there's going to be some more reasonable element as to why he shows up there and why these two come in. Now, who these two could be, I'm not sure. I mean, they're both fairly young, definitely younger than Capaldi, so they're young. I could see Matt Smith potentially being young enough to have been a soldier, but Tennant's a little older depending on which version you go with. I mean, when he first generated the appearance, he was really young looking too, so maybe doctors, maybe... I'm not sure how they're going to interact with what the Doctor's drawn to, but if you look at Capaldi, he's drawn to someone who was, honestly, in that episode, he was kind of a dick, but, I mean, that's kind of his prevailing personality. So if we go off of just the personalities, we have Tennant, who's goofy and fun-loving, but can also be very angry and very, very serious. And, of course, you have Smith, who's, kind of haunted in a way. I can see some trauma in him. I mean, look at this picture is a great instance because you can see that there's definitely some trouble in him. He's always thinking, he's deep in his contemplations, but he's also very, very fun-loving, very goofy, and fez-wearing, which kind of works out with the World War II theory because if he's stationed in the North African area, it could understand his obsession with the fez. Now, the obsession with the Converses, I'm not really sure. Converse was a shoe company during that time period. I'm not sure if they had any history with World War II, but that, I don't know, maybe David Tennant was like an American soldier or something crazy like that, and for some reason when the Doctor became him, there was a British accent or what have you, even though Tennant's Scottish, but shh, don't tell anybody. So, I don't know. These are some of my thoughts. I think, obviously, if these two are going to come back for any extended period of time, it has to be an explanation as to why the Doctor is choosing specific people and what reason he is choosing to regenerate as these people. So I think that's, to me, that's obvious where it's going. As for the time period, I think, based on the Fez, I could see Matt Smith being in World War II, and if they're going to do a 6-episode arc and they want to be together, then that would mean logically David Tennant would also have to be involved in that, or at least something with North Africa. I think that could be interesting. It could be different. We could maybe see some Lawrence of Arabia, things like that, or Casablanca. It'd be actually a really cool idea to interact with that. So if we do see something like that, that could very well be the case. But if you have any ideas, if you have any comments, please feel free to comment on the video below. Hit me up on Twitter. Ask me some questions. I may post this on Reddit depending on if I think the video is good enough and if people will absolutely hate me and I'll get downvoted to all hell. But I digress. Anyway, the two Doctors look skeptical. Tell me what you think. Hopefully you agree with me and have something more to add to the conversation. I would love to hear any other prevailing theories. That's all for me. If you liked it, please like and subscribe. I'm going to be doing some more fan theories with some other shows. I think next I'm going to be trying to explain The Pineapple and How I Met Your Mother, but that's another video for another time. Alright, thanks guys. I'll see you later.